So you're here with One Eyed Doll,
Hi.
and how's your tour been going?
Awesome. This has been really fun. We're on the Halloween tour, which is, our time of year, obviously. And we brought our friends Stitched Up Heart and Run to Cover out, and they're doing really well. And it's been a really good team effort, playing with lots of good local bands across the continent. We got to play our first Canada shows yesterday and the day before, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
It's
Nice.
our first time there, and people were singing along to the songs, like they knew the songs, and it's like, oh wow, we do have fans up here. That's so we can't wait to go back.
Yeah. I have a strong feeling. They were good, but still a little small crowds. I think the next time we go, they're gonna be
It's gonna go
even bigger.
Well, I didn't think anybody was gonna be there. We've never played anywhere near any of those cities,
Yeah.
so it was.
You have a
really
good internet
surprising.
presence, though.
Yeah.
Great internet presence.
That doesn't always translate, though. I mean, sometimes
True.
you see these bands that have hundreds of thousands of Facebook fans, and no one comes to their shows, and you can see how that is actually happening. But we've had a slow growth. It's been 10 years of touring, so
Yeah.
people. We've got really good, real supporters out there who are coming out to the shows, and we have our stronger presences in some places that we've played before, obviously, but overall it's just been really good. Portland and Seattle surprised us.
Yeah, really good shows.
It's been amazing. It's been really good.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about Witches. This is a very different type of album for you. A little more serious.
Yeah, I mean, it's a serious subject. It's very sad.
What inspired you to go with that?
Well, I just happened to read the story of one of the people who was executed, and this was the first non-fictional account that I had read of the Salem witchcraft hysteria, and I was so touched by it that I just had to write a song for this lady, Mary Esty, and I wrote a Rope for Mary. And I kept reading because I was really interested, and the more research I did, the more songs I wrote, and that was just my way of expressing how I felt about what I was reading, and the next thing you know, there was this whole album.
Yeah, and she wrote a Rope for Mary first, and then she started writing a couple other songs that about that. And I was thinking, we could do like a 3-song EP.
Right, just that night we were like, "Whoa, look at that! We just wrote an EP."
Yeah, and it's like 3 related songs, and that would be a cool little EP. And then
Right.
the next day, she had 5 more songs. I was like, oh man, we've got an album on our hands here.
She's got an on button on the back of her head.
Yeah.
It's true. I get into this writing spiral, and I just won't do anything else.
Well, it sounds like you were inspired by it quite heavily.
Yeah, I mean the whole album.
So-
I was in the rehearsal space. We had basically at the time we lived in this bus that you're in right now. This is our house. We just live in it,
Sure.
and we'll park it in different places. And one of the places that we parked this in was a rehearsal space, so where we could set up drums and guitars and stuff, and we set up kind of like a recording studio. It was still loud, like there was other bands rehearsing, so we could only actually record.
Yeah, it's in a warehouse with 100 other bands,
Yeah,
so
we can
there's
only-
always somebody playing, and you could hear it throughout the whole warehouse. So
Yeah.
we had to wait for the
Sometimes
quiet moments.
3 or 4 in the morning, then it would be quiet for a few hours, and so we just clocked our schedule so that we could be up during that time and start recording. But so she'd be out in the bus, on acoustic guitar or whatever, writing these songs, and I'd be in there working on recording or mixing or something like that. And yeah, she just knocked these songs out in 3 days.
I come back and I was like, I wrote 2 more songs.
Because I was just working on the scratch track. Because she'll write a song and I'll just put it down so we don't forget it. I might program a little drum beat or something, and we just literally
So we remember
with
what
5
the beat
minutes.
was.
Yeah, we'll take 5 minutes and record it, and I'll be in here maybe I'll just copy and paste some stuff or play around with some things on the scratch track. And she's coming in I'm like, okay, let's record a real guitar take on this so we can get it down. And she'll be like, well, actually I wrote a different song. Can we do the scratch track for that? And I was like, really, girl? All right, let's do this. So
Well, I mean,
and
we'd already
before we
been
knew
playing
it,
around with this acoustic music that we, right before we got to this warehouse rehearsal space, we spent a month in the Redwoods in Santa Cruz,
Sweet.
Felton.
Felton was the
And
right outside of Santa Cruz.
and we had written all this acoustic music on banjo, mandolin, and guitar, acoustic guitar, just for pleasure.
You know, when you're out in the woods and these trees, they're so big that you can make a tunnel and drive through them. They're really
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, I still had a lot of this music in my mind, so a lot of what I wrote was to that music. So that ended up being the music for the album.
So it has a forest metal vibe to it.
Yeah. So,
It's one hell of a release. It definitely flows from beginning to end really nicely.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Is that when she'd come in and because I was still working on the song that she had written before, she came up with a new idea. I just kept it in the same project, and so by the time we were kind of doing more serious recordings of it, and it wasn't just the scratch tracks, we just kind of already had it mapped out in one. Usually when you're in the studio, I don't know if you spend a lot of time in the studio. Usually when you're in the studio, you work on one song. It's a whole project, and you open it up. It's like working on a word processor. It's like you open up one song as one project, and if you want to work on a different song, you got to close that one down and go to a different file and open the other one.
that's a new project.
Yeah, well, this one, because of the way it was written, we kind of laid it all out just like a one big long song. So all of the songs were just laid out all in the same project. So when you hear the end of Ember go right into the beginning of Prayer in the song, in the project, it literally was like that. And we had the whole album laid out as one long song. So I think that's why it kind of flows. And when you do that, it makes it so, the kick drum sounds the same through the whole album. The guitar sounds the same. The snare sounds the same. So it's a really homogeneous kind of vibe through the whole thing. And I can take what we did on a lot of it was you'll hear, for example, there's a keyboard solo in Afflicted, which there's Eric. You can shine him. He's playing. The cat's a little bit out of the bag, so I'll let you know that Eric is actually playing keys on this tour, so it's an exciting new element for One Eyed Doll. But there's a keyboard solo in Afflicted, which is actually the vocal melody from the bridge of More Weight, for example. And you'll hear the song Remember, which is an acoustic jam, and the little guitar and mandolin melody is the riff in Ghosts of Gallows Hill, the same thing. The whole second half of Afflicted is the same chord progression and vocal melody as Prayer, the second song. And there's a little string section at the end of Afflicted that's the vocal melody from Ember, for example. I mean, there's these kind of things are happening throughout the whole album. It's because it was all laid out as one piece that we could say, okay, well, here's the vocal melody here. What if we played that on guitar on this other song, and,
in a different key,
and a different rhythm or a different instrument, but
and it's kind of callbacks,
just thematic is what it is.
there are little callbacks to make your subconscious go back to something that was being said earlier, or an idea or a feeling that was happening earlier. It's like referring to something else when you hear the violin solo over here that is the same melody but in a different key than the vocal melody of one of the verses of this song. So it's we were kind of just calling back to things, ideas and stuff. And
It makes it a very satisfying listen as a concept album because it feels together. It's not a bunch of songs about the same subject just thrown on one thing. It feels like one piece of work broken into different parts.
yeah, it's a true concept album. It's not conceptual. It's actually a concept album. It's not just an idea. It's a story from beginning to end, and it's meant to be listened to from the very beginning to the very end, if possible. If any of you are listening to, which is for the first time, try to do it in one sitting, like you're watching a movie or a play.
Or listen to it along with the comic book if you can get your hands on it.
Yeah.
There's a
the
comic book?
It's a lyric book, yeah, that is the comic. So
comic book artist Aaron Bordner drew up a whole comic book that goes along with the lyrics.
What, can people order this off your website?
Yeah, well,
They
we
can.
had a run, and the first
Well, they
run
can't
sold
right now.
out in about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So we made another second edition that is for sale on our merch table out there, but it's we made 100 copies of it. So when those are sold out, we might make a third edition, but the first edition has its own separate cover, and we're never making that one again. And the second one has also a different cover, and so
Yeah, so we're gonna do it that way. We
Yeah.
have alternate covers,
Nice.
and we're doing the second one right now, and we'll see how that goes. We brought 50 of them on tour, right?
yeah, we
and
have
then we
50.
left the other
We have 50 for sale for the website when we get home. So
at HQ. So maybe after the tour, we'll list those. But be ready for it because. You know, it took 2
Literally
hours.
2
for that
hours,
last
yeah,
time.
they were
And we
sold
didn't
out.
announce it ahead of time either. It was just
yeah,
like
we put it up and they were gone.
yeah. So
It seems like you've got kind of a rabid fan base.
Well, we all do. We do this all together. We're rabid too,
I
and
think some of them are squirrels.
Yeah. Well,
That's good.
Well, we gave them rabies actually. When you get a VIP for One Eye Doll, one of the perks is that we give you rabies.
Nice.
Oh, it's true.
What-
I remember the last time we met you guys.
And now
That
you're foaming
happened.
at the mouth.
Yeah.
And now, see,
She does that all the time.
It's a slower form of rabies.
You know, humans do develop rabies slower than
Yeah.
other species.
That's a tough way to go, rabies.
What advice would you give new bands about promoting themselves?
Actually, I'll give you an example. Last night, right? Last night.
It was last night
Last
in
night, Ottawa.
time escapes us when you're
Right.
on tour. You're like, was that last night?
We played with a band called Grey Lights, GRE Lights, and these guys were really good. They did a lot of promotion for the show. They brought all their friends, and the biggest thing here, and what a lot of local bands don't do, and I have no idea why, because we always did this, is that they stayed until the end of the night. They watched our show. The lead singer of the band, super talented dude. All of them are really talented. They're really going places. He was every single band's biggest cheerleader all night long. He was just right up there getting the crowd going, being really supportive, you
Nice.
know, flying the flag. And he stayed for meet and greet, and, you know, he like gave me a t-shirt, and I'm totally gonna remember them now because I have this t-shirt. So as far as if you're a local band and you get the chance to be on a national show, do that. You know, really be a part of it. The best way that you can promote yourself is being cool like that. Stay all night, don't ditch out. I have work in the morning, you know, like that. Just don't ditch the show. Like, stay and support everybody, and, you know, maybe if the headliners are cool, maybe you can talk after the show, give them a t-shirt. And one thing, it's for me personally, it's I tend to kind of remember bands that give me t-shirts more so than CDs, because you know, I don't actually have a way to play CDs until like after tour, and so sometimes those kind of get a little bit lost, but I do have a lot of them. But, you know, he was really good, and he wasn't trying to network. He was just being everybody's bud, and
Right.
he wasn't overbearing and being like, take us on tour with you. He was just supportive and cool, and I just think that was really good, and it's refreshing because it's so rare.
Surprisingly.
And I'd say that's one of the many things that you can do as a local band. You know, just be there for the show, step one, and be cool. You know, and people will remember that. I'll remember them next time we're in Ottawa. We're gonna ask for them to be on the bill.
Nice.
Definitely.
And we told the club how cool they were, and you know, I know of a couple bands in Canada that would probably go well with them, and I'll call them up and be like, you guys should play with Grey Lights sometime. You know?
You guys seem to have a really good interaction with your fans.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the other way around, really.
Do things ever go awry?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, of course. Dealing with a lot of people every day, there are going to be some bad apples. But
Overall, nothing serious?
been a couple of.
A couple scary things,
Scary
but
things,
you
yeah.
know,
We don't want to give them attention though.
Fair enough.
yeah,
fair
we
enough.
try not to give the negative experiences our attention, because that tends to encourage
Sure.
more of that.
Sure.
Oh, that's a great idea. I hadn't thought about that.
I could one up that. I could be 10 times more of a jerk than I've been this whole time. What am I-
As a stalker, that idea hadn't occurred to me. I'm gonna try that. Yeah, but you know, there are some jerks out there, or whatever, but inappropriate people and just people who don't understand boundaries and stuff. But we're very.
Luckily, the vast majority of our fans are super awesome.
I feel
And,
like we get
and
maybe
very-
a little less of that stuff because we're more accessible generally. We just, you know.
Yeah, if somebody wants to meet us after the show, we meet them after the
Yeah,
show.
we
get the
do
autograph.
meet and
They don't need to
greet,
stalk us.
yeah.
We're right there. They know how to get a hold of us.
Yeah,
Please come to our
so-
show.
Kind of lets the balloon, air out of the balloon.
Come on up, get a hug. You know, I'm
It's all
getting
good. I was
that.
stalk you, but you're so nice I can't do it.
It's not like a form
She
of
gave
reverse
me her
psychology.
napkin. I don't know. I was going to take it out of the trash, and she
It's
just gave it to me.
Yeah, oh, you want a napkin? Sure. There you go. What am I going to do with that, you know?
Now you got put up as the hottest chick in metal. Was it once or more than once?
Like 3
in
times
Revolver?
now.
3 times?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was 2011, 2012, and 2015.
As you can see,
They
it's
weren't paying
lies.
attention in 2013 or something, but
How do you, being a woman and playing heavy music, do you feel like things have changed over the last 10 years? Because at one point it really wasn't that acceptable. I mean, there were plenty of women out there doing it, but it was kind of, I don't know, they were sidelined a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, that happens, but I kind of came up the hard way through this music business stuff. I started from scratch, like from zero, less than zero, and really had to claw my way up. And I didn't take any shortcuts, you know? So I think just in general, I've experienced a lot of that, and you know, some of it does have to do with being a girl, and some of it doesn't. So,
Have you seen it
Yeah, I mean,
change much over the 10 years?
a little bit, maybe.
For the better, I hope.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. You know, feminism has progressed in 10 years. There's been a lot has happened socially in 10 years. So, yeah, I think so.
people are getting more open-minded just because social media is out there, which allows people to kind of breaks down the walls. It breaks down the you don't have to be physically present with someone in order to interact with them, and so
Right.
you know, people who might not have been very socially active, who might have been just kind of shut in their room, we can talk to them, we can be like encouraging, and then they're all of a sudden they're at the show, and you can tell some of them are a little out of place, but they're like, yeah, they're at the show, and then and you know, they kind of broke out of their shell and stuff, and that's
Yeah,
really cool.
in
So.
general, you know, social behavior has just changed so much. So I think that is one thing that's gone along with that, is how people treat women. Hey, we can vote now.
Since when?
Not everybody knows yet, but the word's getting out.
do you have a problem with being called the hottest chick in metal, like them singling out women in that way?
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's pretty cool.
Because occasionally I see people get upset with things like that, or like
I
if a band is described as female fronted, people will be like, well, why do you have to describe them that way? And it's like,
Yeah, you know,
because there's a female vocalist, you know?
There's a balance, you know. It kind of just depends on the tone that somebody's using or the context. It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm proud to be a girl, and if I'm really grateful not to be on the like ugliest, worst, least talented list. It's like, oh, don't give them any ideas. But you know, it's like it's positive, and it's, for me, I'm grateful. And you know, everybody kind of will take it a different way. I'm sure that some people are just like, oh, babes, but I like to, when those issues come out, I have new peers to discover, and it's cool for me because I can like check out
And a lot of those people are our
These other
friends. You know, we're here
girls.
with Mixie from Stitched Up Heart. She's in a lot of those issues.
I'm
you know?
under her armpit in the most recent issue. She's doing some like, oh, look at my armpit pose,
And then
I'm
she's like,
I'm down here smelling her armpit.
Yeah.
It's cool. So
Let's hope it was vanilla.
And you know, we've toured with a lot of the bands that are in there. So you know,
yeah,
it's
so it's
cool.
great.
You know?
And it's kind of like, you know, women in hard music. I don't consider it as hard, but whatever. It's rock and roll. It's all rock and roll to me. But yeah, women in harder in rock, in like non-pop music, I guess you could say, are more of a rarity. So we're a minority. So, you know, showcasing women is totally is awesome and acceptable to me. And you can tell when somebody's just pigeonholing or being exploitive or whatever. But I appreciate what Revolver has done. For me personally, it's been a really positive experience. And
they
their
seem genuinely
write-ups,
supportive of you.
Oh
these
yeah.
interviews are hardcore.
Yeah.
Like, these are some of the tougher interviews. They're not just talking about like nails or whatever. It's
hope
not
not.
like, you know, are your boobs real? It's not like that kind of thing. It's not a hustler edition. It's very intelligent questions, hard questions. I mean, this last issue, I spent 2 days straight, like, you know, like a couple hours at a time, just having to come back to these questions over and over again. Because it was, I mean, the full interview was tough, you know. So I love Revolver. I think they're great, and the girls that they've showcased, I think that it's good intentions. And hey, it sells copies. That's cool too, right? So I like it.
So what's up next after this tour?
Magic, mystery, and that's for us to know and you to find out. So pay attention.
We'll be in the studio.
Yeah. Go to oneeyeddoll.com, sign up on our mailing list, and we'll be feeding you lots of goodies
Awesome.
for upcoming One Eyed Doll stuff.
Nice. Thank you.